brag about the student work. So this is really a cheap shot. I'm going to take the best of the students' work and I'm going to share it with you. And I have never done this before, so we'll see exactly how it works. It may be a little rough. You could probably give me some technological tips after we go through this. But first, so I teach 2 classes. I teach Intro Bio for non-majors. I also teach environmental science. And environmental science, we look at the whole planet. We go through a lot of the things that Dr. Julian talked about. We look at the different systems of the earth, how they fit together. We look at poverty, hunger, all that big stuff. But then in the lab, I ask people to do a project. And this is most of the points, right? So I ask them to do their own environmental action project. So they have to figure out something to make their own life better that's not recycling. Because everybody recycles, right? You have the bin in front of I mean, even if you don't, you say you do. So you have to take an action that you can control in your own life. And you have to do it either at home, work, or school. And you have to make sure it's sustainable. It has to be good for the environment and good for you. Then you have to do this 4 to 5 times a week and keep data. And do it for between 2 months, around 2 months, okay, 8 to 9 weeks. In summer, about 5 weeks. And collect the data. What's the coolest new thing, the best way to collect data these days? iPhone. Everybody's got their little app, and so collecting data is a piece of cake. You just have a little app, you just put the stuff right in there. I'm just amazed how good the data is, or it looks pretty good. And you have to keep track of 2 kinds of data. What's the stuff that you're saving, reducing, reusing, and how do you feel about it? What is the work like? What's a qualitative reaction? Either how do you feel about what you're doing, or how does your family or your coworkers or whoever else is with you, how are they responding? Is there pushback from the community? Is there pushback from yourself? Okay? And so they have to represent this quantitative data and qualitative information about this practice. And so it gets pretty interesting. So the first topic I'm going to share with you is energy, okay? And we're looking at energy so these are just, I kind of cherry pick some of these more interesting projects, and you'll start to see that there's a whole pattern, and I will shorten some of them up so you don't get incredibly bored by them. But we're going to look at things that people do at home, and then things people do relative to transportation. I get lots and lots of projects with transportation, people doing different things with their cars, because as you know, Californians spend a lot of time in their cars. So now this is where, let's see if I can do this okay. Okay. Click out. This is, okay. And show. Show. It's a little bit slow. Then I go to energy, and I say, it should have been open. What did I do wrong? Oh well, this is there. Someone can help me how to do this better next time. F5. So now this woman was, I would never recommend this, but what she did, she actually turned her whole PG&E power switch off at 9 p.m. every night. She turned off the main. I asked her to make sure her garage door was open in case of a fire. But, you know, I can't control you guys or anyone on Earth. And so she shut down all the power to her house at 9 p.m. and she turned it back on at 6 a.m. every night. And she had a family of like 6 or something that she lived with. And I know, isn't that crazy? PG&E before, gas was $24. After, $26. It sounds like they were using the stove more, right? The electricity went from 100 to 32. So I believe this was a summer project. So she really had some pretty amazing results. And what she did that was really interesting, because she lived in a multi-age family, she actually Talked to her mom. Her mom was really worried about safety of food in the refrigerator. Her daughter was really worried about her technology. And her brother actually was a musician who practiced at night. Right. And so that had some stress in the family. Anyway, so the way she collected her qualitative, she had these little family meetings to talk about how this was affecting people. And one of the things she did to resolve some of the safety issues, she bought a bunch of flashlights so that everyone would have a flashlight. And so I asked people, how were they successful? And so they respond if they were successful. Everyone's allowed to fail. And so people are supposed to fail. So failure is built into this project because there's no way you can be successful unless you're lying, right? For something like this. You're trying a whole new behavior. You've got to do it for 10 weeks. How are you going to be 100% successful? I mean, that's just not human nature. So I like to have it built in that people can fail. So we looked at her usage, and this is her kilowatts on one side, and her qualitative data, that's looking at levels of stress. So people have some very creative ways of plotting stress. Some use smiley faces, some do various things. We're not trying to be ultra scientific here. We're just get it out there. Somehow express yourself. And let's see, so more data, more information. And that's her family. They lived up in Winters. So she had it was a pretty interesting situation, and they made a lot of adaptations. So we were all very impressed with her project. Again, not something I would encourage people to emulate, but again, people just do what they want to do in this project. And they decided to hang clothes on the clothesline. Okay, obviously a project's not going to work in the winter. It might not ever work in Venetia, I don't know. But one of the things that was neat is she talked about how much bonding time she had with her mother as one of her real benefits. And you'll see that there is a number of projects where bonding ends up being a real important value. And then money too, right? Money's helpful. But she was really excited. They had, for some reason, they had already bought one of these little jobs. Another benefit was they got very strong. A disadvantage was they were talking about backaches. But again, the bonding, spending that time together, obviously takes a lot of time. And you know how clothes are. So jeans are pretty stiff. And so that was kind of a downside of that project. So how did they fix that problem? You know what they did?
Kept the jeans almost dry and put them in the dryer.
They put them in the dryer on air to just pound them soft, right? It's pretty funny. And they looked at how they felt about one another, and it brought them even closer. And actually, I see the parents in Fairfield fairly often, and they still remember that project. They still talk about what a special time that was, which is a little funny. And so you pick a small action, you set a time frame, you monitor it, and now it's real easy with all these little apps. Evaluate it and discuss it. And I think that's how a project like that can grow. And that's it. So I accept applause on behalf of my students.